Well, hello and welcome back to Willey Farms. I'm Donna Cavender. I think we've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about knives, we're going to talk about azaleas, and we're going to talk about goat cheese in a salad. You stick around and wait, it's going to be really, really good. Willey Farms on Route 13 in Townsend. We're very easy to find. Check us out on our social media. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on our YouTube page, and we're on Instagram and Twitter as well. So check us out, and our website is willeyfarms.com. But right now, let's get to the show. First up, we're going to talk about knives. Welcome back, and we are here at our sampling station, and I've got another special guest, Lauren Powers from St. George's Technical High School. Lauren, thank you so much for coming out to help us out.
You're welcome.
Now, Lauren is in the culinary program at St. George's Tech. Lauren, tell us a little bit now, what year are you in?
So I'm in my junior year of high school, and I'm in the culinary program at St. George's. So, yeah.
And when do you start there at high school? Do you have to choose what program you're going to go into in the ninth grade, or?
Yep, so your freshman year you go in and you pick your top three, and then whichever one you get into is where you'll be spending the rest of your high school career.
Awesome. Okay, and why do you think you picked culinary?
So I've been wanting to be a chef since I was about 4 years old, and I would always help out in the kitchen, so cool. I was very excited when I knew there was a good culinary program.
All right, awesome. So today we're going to talk with Lauren about cutlery, and specifically knives, how to take care of them, how to sharpen them, how to keep them sharp, how to keep them from cutting you, and all that good information. Yep. And Lauren brought her knife kit, and I brought my knives from home. So let's open that up, see what that looks like.
All right.
And see what we're gonna do a little demonstration here.
So here I actually have a knife sleeve, which is a very proper way to store your knives, just so they're not all shoved into a drawer. And you also prevent cutting yourself doing this too. Okay, now if you don't have a sleeve and you'd rather put your things in a drawer, now what's the best way to put them in, keep them in the drawer? So if you don't have a sleeve, you can get just like a single sleeve like this, and it's plastic, and your knife just slides right into it just to keep your little fingers safe when you're digging in your drawer.
Now sometimes when you buy a knife, maybe, I don't know, maybe the most expensive knives come like this, but I know that some knives come with a cardboard sleeve. Is that okay to use?
That does get okay, but once the cardboard gets wet, it could be ruined, so I definitely recommend a plastic one.
Okay, and you can get them at any cutlery store?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what do we have in here?
So here we have a basic knife set, really. So this is your everyday chef's knife.
And what would you normally cut with that knife?
So this is, a chef's knife, you do all your basic things. So you could basically do anything, fruits, vegetables, any type of meat. So as long as you have a sharp knife, it's going to cut basically through everything. Okay. And what else do we have? Here we have a serrated knife.
Very important. You need to have a straight edge, but you also need to have a serrated. Okay.
Right. So your serrated knife is things that you're going to use, such as with bread or a type of vegetable that has a lot of juice in it, such as a tomato. So it really, it's a lot easier than a chef's knife, so you don't squish whatever you're trying to cut.
Okay, and we'll demonstrate that in just a little bit.
Yep.
So what else do we have in your sleeve?
So here, this is kind of a smaller knife, but I mostly use it for chopping vegetables. These little pockets on the side, they actually keep the vegetable from sticking on the side of the knife, so as you're chopping, it falls right off.
All right.
So we'll put that back in there.
And anything else?
Here we have a paring knife, which is with when you're doing any type of peeling or a smaller vegetable or fruit.
Okay.
Doing cherry tomatoes, that's perfect. If you're trying to peel something, works great.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so comparing that to what I got with and what you buy at any kitchen store, this is what I have at my house, and there are two that I use more often than not. The little paring knife, which would be similar to your small one. Then I have this one, which is a little bit bigger, and this one a little bit bigger. Now, the shape of that, is that for something in particular?
So this is actually a fillet or a boning knife. So when you're breaking down a chicken or some type of fish, it's really easy to get the small blade it has and get all the little bones or break through the skin of the chicken.
Okay, and this one is kind of the same thing, only it's larger?
Yeah, this is kind of just like a thicker blade. It might be a little harder to get in there with smaller things, but you could use it for the same thing.
And then this is
This is your chef's knife. So this is, your everyday knife. You're very comfortable with it, and you can cut you can cut anything with it.
That's what I use like when I chop nuts and different things like that.
Okay.
Let's move on to sharpening.
So I will show you the proper way to sharpen your knife. I can do one of your knives if you would like.
Okay.
So here what I have is a whetstone. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put a little bit of mineral oil right on top. You do not want to use any type of canola or vegetable oil.
Okay.
So you just kind of want to spread it on. All right.
Okay.
And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your knife.
All right.
I'll do your chef's knife here.
Okay.
And you want to make sure you have a very good grip on it, because if you don't, your knife will most likely slip and you're gonna most likely cut yourself. So you're gonna take your knife and you want to start at the edge and you're just gonna bring it all the way. And then you're gonna do the same thing on both sides.
Okay, and you can hear the stone actually doing the sharpening. Now, how many times on each side do you need to do this?
So I usually do about 3 or 4 times on each side. So I've done that. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip it to the next blade.
Okay.
And this is a medium coarse thing.
So this is medium?
So you're gonna do the same exact thing you did, and you can kind of hear it. It's not as rough sounding. This is more of like a texture of sandpaper you would have. And this is the finest part, which if you feel it, it doesn't really feel like anything, but this is just gonna get the last bit of refining on it. It just feels a little gritty.
Right. Okay.
So you're gonna do the same thing, and that is, you can hear how smooth that one sounds.
Right, there's not as much restriction on the blade. Okay.
And then if you have like a side towel, you just want to make sure you wipe it off and clean it before you next use. And now we're going to use what's called a steel. This is what's going to actually refine the blade. So you don't want to use this to sharpen, and you're just going to take it back and forth. And this, so you can go nice and quick on this. Yes.
You can go both ways. Okay.
And then have a pretty great edge on that.
Okay, so now when I take this home, I have to be very
careful.
All right, awesome. Okay, so now we've got our blade sharpened, and we'll use my knives this time. Okay, so we have to pick the right knife for the job that we're doing. So we're gonna dice up this apple.
Okay.
So what knife do we choose for that?
So with the selection you have here, I would definitely use your chef's knife, just because, I mean, you're gonna get a lot more, you're gonna get a much better cut out of that.
Okay.
So with an apple, obviously there's a core, you just wanna go right down the center of it. And then put it on the flat edge so you're not cutting on an uneven surface. Your knife might slip.
Smart idea, yes.
Yep, so you're just gonna cut it down. And you see how I'm holding the knife? You want to have a very good grip on it, because if you're holding it like this, your knife's going to slip and it's very dangerous. So having a nice grip on it right on the edge of the knife.
All right.
And then definitely just cut down around the edge. You'll have something looking like that.
So whenever you want to do another cut after the initial cut on something that's round, you put it down on the flat edge.
You definitely want to put it the flat side down. You can see how this is on the flat side down, whereas if I did this, I would probably end up cutting myself.
Okay.
So.
All right, so if we wanted to dice up that apple.
If we wanted to dice it, first we're gonna have to put it in a slice. So you're just gonna go ahead. Whoops.
It's okay.
And put that right in there.
Okay.
And then you can kind of just line them all back up. Doesn't have to be in perfect order. And then you're just gonna do the same thing, the opposite direction.
Okay. And of course, if you didn't want the skin on, you would have peeled it first.
We definitely would have peeled it
first,
or
and then you can put that right in there.
So now we have somewhat of a dice.
All right, let me give it a try here.
All right.
Let's give it a try. All right. Hold on like that?
Yes, make sure you have very good grip on it.
And you try to keep the point down? Is that the idea?
So you have that kind of like a rocking motion.
Rocking motion, okay. All right. Turn that around and...
Yep. And then if we wanted an actual dice, we would either cut these in half or would have cut the slice in half again and had an actual dice.
All right, so that's how to dice it. That's how to dice. We'll move that over here. Now we've got the tomato. We want to slice the tomato for a sandwich. And how's the best way to do that?
So what I would actually do is I would use a serrated knife, just because this tomato isn't as firm as some. So a lot of juice is going to be running out. So if we use a serrated knife, that would definitely be our best bet.
You called that a steak knife,
so yes,
which is
this
what
is
it is.
typically a steak knife. So
but any serrated knife will work?
Yes, any serrated knife will work. So in this case, we're going to use this, and you can see you barely have to put any pressure on it. If your steak knife is sharp, you're just going to be able to slice right through it.
Now, is there a way to sharpen a serrated edge?
Not that I know of. Just make sure keeping it in a sleeve, because if you don't, all the other knives will either clank against it or it's going to dull, and you're not going to have that pointy edge on it.
Okay. All right.
So
let's put our tomato in this little dish.
So this is a larger serrated knife that works just as well. So you just go right through it, and it gives a nice even cut.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
And you just have to remember to keep your fingers out of the way.
Fingers tucked in, so as you're cutting, you can also push it with your thumb, and you'll just not have to move your knife at all.
So serrated edge is good for cutting up tomatoes.
Yep, tomatoes. All right. So I'm going to start peeling this kiwi. What you're going to do is you're going to hold your paring knife like this, and then you're going to put your thumb at the bottom of whatever you're peeling, and you're just going to glide it through. And then once you have that first cut, you can kind of just see where the skin starts, and just keep going around with it.
So you leave as much of the flesh as you possibly can.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to keep as much of the product on, and just remove the skin.
Okay.
And just make sure you leave your thumb out of the way so you don't accidentally hurt yourself.
The advice of cutting away from yourself is always good, but when you're paring, normally you're not. You're cutting towards your thumb.
Make sure you have it controlled. All right, so we have that. And then you can just cut the top and the bottom off. And then you can either switch to a bigger knife or use this. And then
to cut in between. There you go.
So you have the middle, and then you can just.
Oh, we don't need small pieces. We just need a big piece like this.
Perfect.
There we go. Okay, I'll eat a small piece. Go ahead, have a piece.
Are you good?
Oh, it's good. It's very good.
Favorite fruit.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and last but not least, we have a nice loaf of artisan bread. Artisan bread really, really popular these days.
Yep, very hard crust.
It's got a hard crust, so it's kind of hard. Like if you attempted to cut it with your chef knife, you would just not
going to do much.
It's not going to do much.
Right.
So when you're doing artisan bread, you need
you want to use a serrated knife, just like we did with the tomato. It's going to be so much easier just to cut through the hard crust on artisan bread.
Okay.
Now, I've heard that some people like to flip it upside down, which, again, you have this going on. With the bottom, you're not going to have that. It's nice and steady, so you could just take your knife.
All right.
And cut right through it.
Awesome.
So you can get beautiful slices.
Beautiful slices, nice and uniform. Okay. Well, Lauren, I think we've got a lot of really great information. I appreciate you coming out and sharing that with us.
No problem, it's my pleasure.
So folks need to take a look in their knife drawer or in their knife block and kind of take stock and see how they can improve how they use their knives, how they keep them safe, and how they keep them sharp. So Lauren, thank you very much for helping out. I really appreciate it. And a big thank you to Chef Freeman at St. George's Technical High School for letting her come out and show all the things that she learns there at St. George's Technical High School. So thanks for coming out. Hope you learned a lot about knives today. Yes. Well, thank you, Lauren, for all that great information about cutlery and knives and all that good information. Hopefully, we'll be able to put that to use. So now we've made our way out here to the Grove. It's so nice and lovely out here. We're right next to the nursery and the greenhouse, and I'm here with Gretchen, and we're going to talk about azaleas.
We are going to talk about azaleas.
Everybody knows about azaleas, I think. I have azaleas, and I have a couple different versions, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So these are the 3 different types that you can buy here at Willey Farms?
These are the 3 types we're going to talk about today.
Today, okay.
Sometimes I have a couple other ones too.
All right.
But these are one you know, one you might know, and one you probably don't know.
Ooh, there we go. We like to inform.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to start here?
This is the one you probably know.
Yes, I have a white one at home.
Yes, and you probably have Delaware Valley White. And this is a Hershey red azalea. This is the azaleas that your mom had, your grandmom had, your great-great-grandmom had. We're used to them here in Delaware. It's an evergreen. It's really actually apropos that we're here in a shady type situation because he's like part sun. We are at the beginning of May right now, and this is just about to be a party.
To bloom. And it's gorgeous.
It is.
And it will bloom like this, just full for a couple weeks, depending upon the weather.
Yes.
Yeah, but then the blooms go away.
And the green stays.
And that's what you meant by evergreen.
Evergreen, yes. It's not your evergreen like a pine tree, but it's an evergreen and it stays green like, say, a holly is also an evergreen.
Okay.
It stays green.
All right.
One thing that all of these azaleas have in common is they all like acidic soil. They all like dappled or part sun or morning sun. A north or east facing situation is best. They like well-drained soil. And yeah, so there's a lot in common. And then there is this guy that blooms spring, summer, and fall.
And I was so excited when I heard about these because so I bought one of those too. And mine is a pink one. I think it's a little bit darker than this pink right here. But yeah, I love it because it blooms.
Yes.
And then it blooms again a little bit later.
Yes, and then blooms again a little later after that. Yeah. This guy is actually just about getting done with its spring flush.
Okay.
You can tell because there's not as many blooms and there's a lot of new growth. It's going to take a little rest and then it's going to bloom again in the summer, spitting flowers out all summer long, honestly. And then another nice heavy bloom in fall.
Now, is this one evergreen as well?
Evergreen as well.
Okay.
Which brings us to this guy, who is not an evergreen. He's deciduous, which means he's naked in the winter. Yeah. And what is wonderful about this is an expiry azalea. And expiries, you've got reds, pinks, whites. You've got almost the same kind of colors in the Encore and reblooming azaleas.
Right.
You've got yellow.
I know.
Orange. And reds in the expiries, which is why this is should be on the camera standing out a lot from all the colors that we have around us. But they tend to put their blooms out and then they leaf out. Which is really cool. And then this one here, which is the Klondike, it has a little bit of a reddish leaf, and it actually will color up in the fall like some of the other things that color up in the fall. Like you get brighter colors and things, and then as soon as it's done coloring up, it drops its leaves. Okay.
So do we want to talk specifically about these some more?
We can. They are not heavy feeders, but you do want to feed them holly-tone if you can. If you currently have a traditional azalea and you're not getting this many flowers on it, try holly-tone. You do not feed it early in the spring, you feed it late in the spring, because if you feed it early, you're going to have lots of leaves and it's not going to be feeding the blooms for next year. This azalea has very shallow roots, so you're not going to plant a lot of things around it because you don't want to disturb those shallow roots. And this azalea here is going to get to be about 5 feet tall and about as wide. And so keep that in mind when you're planting it. Give it some room because it's going to take probably about 5 years to get there. They're pretty fast growers. So this and going up to that height in 5 years is pretty good. If you're going to trim a regular azalea, you do trim it right when it's done blooming, because as soon as it's done blooming, it starts pushing out new green and then it starts making next year's flowers.
Okay. All right. And how is this one different from that one?
Well, can we bring some more up?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So now we have the Encore azaleas, and this is one. I have one of these at my house, and I just love it. And it comes in a variety of colors as well.
Yeah. Actually, on hand, we usually have 8 to 10, sometimes even 12 or 15 colors in the Encores. If I can get the color, I get it. They come in and go out as fast as they can. And they're Encore because when you think about it, that's a second showing.
Sure.
I don't know what a triple showing is.
It was so pretty the first time. Let's see it again.
And then one more time after that.
Yeah, sure.
And then there's also Bloomathon, which is another reblooming azalea.
Okay.
And then these guys, what's a little different from your traditional azalea to this azalea is these guys can take a little more sun. They're going to want to be in a part sun situation still, and but they would like 6 hours of sun. 4 hours is plenty. And really, if they get shade, they really like the end of the day, it's getting to be really, really hot shade. That's when they want to be in the shade.
Good, because
that's where you have yours.
Yes, I was worried about
Perfection.
it. So I think I did good.
And if you are going to trim this back, these guys actually tend to stay kind of nice and tidy, which is, this one doesn't look so nice and tidy, but it's starting to push out its new greens. He's starting to get done. He just got done. He's just actually getting ready for a bloom. You would do it right after the spring bloom, not after the other blooms, right after the spring bloom.
Oh, okay. And so the second bloom and the third bloom, you really don't want to trim?
Correct.
Or prune?
You can if you have to. If you've got a really wild, wonky something coming out, it's going to look prettier if it's trimmed. Don't be afraid to trim that. But if you want an overall trim to make it smaller, right after the spring bloom.
Okay.
The Encore Azaleas, they range pretty greatly in height. You can go anywhere from 1.5 feet tall to about 5.5 feet tall.
All right, so let's move on to the Exbury. Exbury. Okay, so now we're here hiding behind the Exbury. These guys are kind of tall, but very, very pretty.
They are.
So what do we need to know about these? The color is different.
The color is different, and you won't get these kind of colors in the other azaleas that we talked about.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
Actually, not even close, honestly.
Okay.
We talked about before, these are the Exbury azaleas that shed their leaves in the winter.
Oh, that's right, deciduous. Okay.
Deciduous. And generally what they do is they pop their blooms out, they bloom, and then the leaves start coming in. It's been a little bit of a wonky spring, so this one's confused.
Okay.
That's not always going to be what happens, but it's happening today, and it's still gorgeous, even though it's confused. This guy is just a little bit behind. He's actually been blooming for a few days now, and then these leaves have really come out in the heat. This guy is exactly what happens.
Okay.
This is exactly what happens.
Now, it looks like the bloom is right there at the end of a longer stick than the other azaleas. Is that true? Or
It is. And oh, I didn't even tell you. Did you know that azaleas are rhododendrons?
No, a rhododendron is a rhododendron.
Yeah, it is too. It is too.
But azaleas are in that family as well.
Are in the rhododendron family.
Wow.
Yeah. And usually the thing that we think of as being a rhododendron, it might be closer to these, where your flowers are in a bunch at the top of the plant.
Right.
And the azalea rhododendrons have blooms all over them. And that's why we tend to think of them not being the very same plant. These are closer looking to a rhododendron.
Okay.
So these guys are getting ready to bloom in the middle of it, kind of at the start of it.
These look like they might be a little taller than the other azaleas. Do these get taller?
They're all gonna, I want to say these guys might be like 6 feet tall, so pretty close.
Okay.
Pretty close. They definitely look different because they are different. And this is an azalea that you're not going to see everywhere. And so we've got your grandma's. We've got your brand new thing. These have been around forever. You just don't find them.
Okay.
And that's what's so cool. And honestly, these colors, if you can do them in mass, but you can have one single Exbury azalea in your yard, and people are going to go, "What's that? What's that thing right there?"
And so these are actually 3 different colors.
These are 3 different colors.
Yeah, I'm looking at this one. This one is a Mount St. Helens.
Yeah,
which is
and then we've got
cool.
Gibraltar.
And
which is probably our best seller, is Gibraltar.
Oh, okay. It's
a beautiful,
real kind of an orangey. This is more of a coral, and that's.
And then the Klondike is like a yellow.
A yellowy gold.
And big flowers.
Yeah,
big
yeah.
flowers.
So depending upon what kind of flower you want, what color flower you want to coordinate in your yard, or with your house, or with the color of your front door, or whatever you got going, there are a lot of types of azaleas and colors of azaleas to choose from.
And we've got them all.
And we've got them all. So there you go. I think we've covered everything that we need to know about azaleas. Thank you very much, Gretchen.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Now it's time to head over to our sampling station and see what we can cook up. Well, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy watching the cooking shows on television. You get inspired, you get ideas, and somewhere along the way, I got inspired about a roasted beet and goat cheese salad. And I kind of made up my own recipe, but it turned out pretty good, so I wanted to share it with you. So the first thing you need to do is get your roasted beets. So you've got beets about this size. Get them here at Willey Farms, take them home. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of the green on there. Cut them off to about 1 inch. Leave that on there. Cut the little root off. Then you take them and put them in a baking pan and just put a little bit of water in the bottom of that baking pan. Cover the whole thing with aluminum foil. Put it in a 400-degree oven, and at about 45 minutes you can take a knife or a fork and poke those beets to see if the knife or the fork goes in nice and smooth. Now these I did last night, and at about 45 minutes they weren't quite done, so I did another 10 to 15 minutes and they were perfect. So you take them out, let them cool off. So now they've cooled, of course, and then you need to get the skin off. So what you do is cut the rest of that root off right there. And we did cut the root off down there. And some of them will just, now this one is going to come right off. Look at that. The skin just comes right off. You squeeze it and it will come off. Some of them are a little bit harder. You have to work a little harder doing it. But this one seems like it's going to come off pretty good. So you peel all that off. So we'll leave that for another time, because this one we've got all peeled up. So you've got all of the skin off of this roasted beet, most of the skin. There we go. Then you just take your knife and cut it up. Now, depending upon how you want to do it, you can either dice it or put slices in your salad. But I think I want to do a bit of a dice, or you could do a julienne, which is the long sticks. So cut it that way, turn your beet, and then cut it this way. And you're pretty good to go. Let's go ahead and cut this one. And of course, beets are so good for you. It's always good to get them in your diet whenever you can. So we'll cut this beet up. There we go. So now we've got our beet all cut up. And of course, you have to start a salad with some type of lettuce. You can choose your favorite. What I have here is what we get from Red Acre Farms. It's hydroponic greens. This is the red. And so also you tear up the lettuce there. Tear it small if you like it small, or you can leave it in larger chunks. But just tear that up a little bit, get that ready for you. And it's just a matter of adding the ingredients. The ingredients that I chose, of course, the roasted beets. There you go, the roasted beets. I have some dried cranberries here, so we'll put some of those in. We won't put them all in because we don't have a lot of lettuce here today. I got some chopped up walnuts. Nuts also really good for you. Walnuts particularly good for you. So put a little bit of that in. I decided apple, and Granny Smith is my favorite. You've probably heard that before. So I diced up some Granny Smith apple, put that in there. And of course you can't have roasted beet and goat cheese salad without some goat cheese. So we have some really nice, now this is, you could buy the goat cheese and crumble it up yourself or slice it up, but we have these goat cheese crumbles right here at Willey Farms. Works perfect. So you put that in there, and that looks like that'll be enough. And then today, I'm going to take these off since I'm not touching the beets anymore. So today, again, you could choose your favorite dressing, but today we're talking about balsamic vinaigrette, and this is a favorite here at Willey Farms. This is from Farmer Boy, and is just a basic balsamic vinaigrette. So, of course, you need to shake it up a little bit. And we'll drizzle that over the top. Oh, that looks good. You can smell the vinegar. Here we go, that might be enough. Take a fork or tongs and just stir that around. Look at that, nice greens. You got your beets, the cheese, the apples, the cranberries, and the nuts. I think that looks great. We're gonna put some of that in this little bowl here. I'm gonna have to get mine now, because as soon as people hear this is what I've made, they're gonna be coming from all over to get their taste. There we go. We've got our roasted beet and goat cheese crumble salad with balsamic vinaigrette. See if I can't get a little bit of everything in this bite. There's the beets and the cheese and the cranberries. Oh my, that is really good. The goat cheese is so creamy. And then you've got the tart of the beet and the vinaigrette dressing. That is awesome. So again, you can choose what you like to put in this salad, but this turned out really, really nice. Roasted beet and goat cheese crumble salad with balsamic vinaigrette. Yummy. That was my inspiration. Now you go get inspired and make up your own recipe. Well, I thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did filming it. Had a great time today. We talked about keeping your knives sharp and what knife to use. We talked about azaleas, and we talked about making a really good salad. So I hope that you try out any one of those. We're Willey Farms, right here on Route 13, 4092 DuPont Parkway, Townsend, Delaware, for all those who need that, that MapQuest and that GPS. Easy to find, even if you're traveling on Route 1. Get off in Odessa, travel south on 13, or get off just north of Smyrna and travel north on 13. We're open every day from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you can check us out on our social media outlets. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well. Thanks for watching today. You have a great one.